All right, now joining us on the broadcast, we've got Mr. Omer Oskilzilichik, a non-resident fellow at the Atlantic Council. Mr. Omer, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on this broadcast and beyond. I want to start off by asking you this. As we speak, Israel has said that because some of the bodies are not being returned by Hamas, they are going to reduce the number of humanitarian aid trucks that are being allowed into the Gaza Strip by half. Hamas has turned around and said that it is simply not possible to identify all the bodies because of the excessive bombing that the Israelis carried out over the course of the last 2 years. How do you see the situation unfolding there?
Yeah, we have to see very clearly that the Gaza Strip has been heavily destroyed, and that every video emerging from the Gaza Strip shows us the huge amount of destruction. And in reality, we know that Hamas also suffered quite a lot in terms of operational hierarchy and internal structure from Israeli attacks. So it is definitely a huge task for Hamas, who has a decentralized military structure, to really find and locate the bodies and hand them over to the Israeli side. So I do strongly believe that Hamas is not stalling the process here, but that's really a logistical nightmare for them to do. And here I believe that Hamas needs some support, and we know that there are some efforts by Qatar, Turkey, and Egypt to help to identify these corpses, because some of them were killed months ago in an Israeli strike, or they were killed under different circumstances. So these issues have to be taking time, and we have to clearly assess. The ceasefire came in a very short amount of time, but the implementation of it will take much more time than the actual negotiations that happened since the United Nations General Assembly. And Hamas here has to deliver on its sides of the demands, definitely. But that being said, I don't think it is illegally, humanitarian, or politically or diplomatically in any way, shape, or form acceptable that Israel cuts the humanitarian aid to Gaza. Because even if the war would not have ended, these humanitarian aid trucks should have been allowed to enter into Gaza. One of the laws of international humanitarian law is that aid has to be delivered into war zones, cannot be blocked from reaching the civilian population. So basically, Israel is targeting and pushing on the civilians for some things that Hamas cannot deliver as fast as they wish Hamas should do.
Right, but as things stand on the ground, this is something that the Israelis have admitted as well, that aid has been reduced by half. Now, only about 300 of these humanitarian aid trucks being allowed into the Gaza Strip. Now, the other question that I want to ask you is this: how optimistic are you about the situation in the Gaza Strip? About 52 to almost 60% of the Gaza territory is still under the Israeli occupation. And there's this very thorny issue of, will the Israelis actually withdraw completely from the Gaza Strip? And will Hamas give up its arms on its own? Do you think these steps that are required for the second phase of this peace deal to go through, how likely are they to happen?
I mean, it will be a Herculean task. It will be difficult. We know that the Israeli side have repeatedly crashed down an agreement, a ceasefire agreement, that they have used any potential excuse to resume the fighting. And then there's Israeli domestic political angle that Netanyahu does not want the war to end, so he can avoid the Israeli justice system. But here we have to see one thing, which gives me quite hope that we will this time be able to progress further. And this is the guarantee mechanism. So in the past, it was basically Hamas and Israel negotiating on a roadmap and a ceasefire to interlocutors. But now what we have seen is that basically 8 Muslim countries, including Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Indonesia, Qatar, Egypt, and America have negotiated on a roadmap. And these two sides have agreed, and these two sides are the guarantors of this process. Later on in this signing ceremony, it was Turkey, Egypt, and Qatar that signed the Trump declaration, But we know that other Muslim countries are also unnamed guarantors of this process and that they will take part.
Right.
So, and the huge fuss that was created around Trump and the meaning for Trump personally to achieve this and the theatrics of Trump and how much he was put into the forward, like a reality show, even though this is undiplomatic, this gives me hope that the ego of Trump and the guarantee mechanism, these two things together, will this time make sure
Right.
that the ceasefire and the roadmap can really be implemented.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Omer, for joining us with that perspective there.